Elon Musk is not the boss of federal employees. Doge is not the boss of federal employees. OPM is not the boss of federal employees.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Matt Walsh is a right-wing podcast and radio guy. I do think he is actually also on the radio in some places. I think I've heard him on the radio here in Huntsville.
Yeah, I love how you make me know about these people.
I gotta. So Matt Walsh has opinions about the federal government. He doesn't like it, but I just want to illustrate for you how little he knows about it by playing a clip from this segment where he's talking about the federal government and how much he hates it. That illustrates how he literally doesn't know, I mean, actually the first thing about working in the federal government. Let's play this clip where he talks about the phrase tour of duty.
Yes, this IRS worker stated that he was shocked to be fired because he actually showed up to work 5 days a week. That was his tour of duty, as he put it. These are people who legitimately think they're storming the beaches of Normandy just by going into an office building on a regular schedule.
Okay, so Matt Walsh there responding to a clip of an IRS employee who was laid off, who happened to mention that he goes into the office, not that he works 5 days a week. All federal employees work 5 days a week, at least if you're full time. But this IRS employee went into the office 5 days a week, and he said, "That's my tour of duty." And so this triggered Matt Walsh because he thinks that sounds military, and he thinks that means the IRS employee feels like he's valiant, like he's storming the beaches of Normandy because he's using this language, tour of duty. That is just what the government calls your schedule. When I onboarded with the federal government, when I started working for the Corps of Engineers 8 years ago, I was given a tour of duty. When I filled out my time card, that's just what it was called, a tour of duty. And so that is just what the government calls it, right? And so you don't have a problem with this IRS employee. You have a problem with the people who came up with the naming conventions for schedules in the federal government. But he clearly doesn't know that because he is so triggered by the use of this word. If he had known, I mean, literally that would be, the first thing that you learn about working in the federal government is that your schedule is just called your tour of duty, at least at the Corps of Engineers and apparently at the IRS, right? But he doesn't know that because these people, they don't need to know anything. They don't need to know anything to do what they're doing. And it's so frustrating seeing these attacks on federal workers and the work that we perform for the American people from folks who don't know the first thing about working for the federal government. So here's some more of his commentary about federal employees.
But for many federal workers, this email is an existential threat. And that's because, unlike the overwhelming majority of workers in this country in the private sector, they, in many, though not all cases, don't do anything. And to this point, have not been expected to do anything. They just shuffle papers around and wait until their pensions vest.
It's so stupid. And so here he's talking about the what did you do email and reacting to it and saying, oh, they don't have to do anything. And so now they have to do something at least once a week. They're going to have to send this stupid email. And Sohrab Ahmari, as the right take on this. And it's interesting because Sohrab Ahmari is a conservative writer. He writes for Compact Magazine. I think he's the editor of the magazine. Now, Sohrab Ahmari is a bit interesting because he's a conservative writer, but he's also kind of like pro-social democracy and unions and stuff like that. But he had a tweet where he said Musk's demand for federal employees to explain their achievements is actually the definition of bullshit work. right? In bureaucracies, this is still Amari talking, in bureaucracies, the pencil pushers who thrive are actually the ones who are best at crafting bullshit weekly accomplishment narratives. And that's exactly right. Like this demand is coming from, you know, a technocrat guy who thinks he is better than everybody and who genuinely believes that federal workers do not report to their supervisors already. I mean, it is so stupid. So stupid. And so here are a few reasons why why on its face, as a principled matter, this "what did you do last week" email is really dumb. For one, federal workers obviously already report to their supervisors. Supervisors already know what their workers are doing. Whether you have this formalized structure of reporting or not, a supervisor is going to know if their employee is being productive. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, who the hell is going to read them? The answer is nobody, right? Supposedly, they received 1 million emails from the last "what did you do last week" email. 1 million! 1 million! That is one with 6 zeros behind it. 1 million emails. Who is going to read that? There are only 30 employees at Doji. They don't have time to read. They do not have time to read 1 million emails. And so the next answer is AI, which is also stupid. We should not have robots in charge of supervising federal workers. That does not make any amount of sense. Secondly, this also costs money for no benefit, right? I just explained there's not going to be any benefit to this because there's no way to actually evaluate what people are saying. And it also costs money, right? People have done the math on this and they've said that, you know, look, if every federal employee replied and every federal employee only took 15 minutes to reply, that would cost at least $12 million a week. $12 million a week. For exactly like Sorab Amari says, bullshit work, right? I mean, what? I want a VA nurse to take time, and then it also, in addition to it costs money, it takes time away from being productive, right? So you're telling me that you want a VA nurse to step out of the room where she's caring for somebody and craft up this stupid ass email to send into the ether that nobody is going to read. It's stupid. It's stupid. Right? Waste time that people could be being productive. And finally, what this will actually be used for is one, for the data benefit of like AI that Elon Musk wants to create. He's probably going to use a lot of this data in the background of his like AI software. So it's going to be something that's going to personally enrich him. And also it could be used against a worker later for political targeting, right? So what if Elon Musk sees a federal worker on CNN that he doesn't like? Well, then maybe Elon Musk can go into this and type in their name into the search bar at OPM and find the emails that they sent that had not been previously evaluated and see if he likes their answer, or see if maybe one week they didn't do it, or see if, you know, and then blast that in front of everybody and try to get this worker fired, not because of actual poor performance, because that's what a supervisor would do, but to target people politically, right? And so that's actually a real concern here. So very stupid. It's a stupid just on its merits, and we can talk about the legality of it later, but on its merits, it is a dumb guy thing. It's a dumb guy thing to believe is smart, right? If you think this is a smart idea to have 2 million federal workers send an email to Elon Musk and his 30 Doji employees, that is stupid. That is a dumb idea. And it's not going to be beneficial. It's going to waste time. It's going to cost the government money, and it is not going to benefit anybody. Okay. So here, Walsh has some thoughts on the lawsuit.
They're specifically objecting to Elon Musk's statement that if workers don't answer the email, it'll be taken as a resignation. They're arguing, in essence, that federal workers are entitled to ignore emails from their bosses asking them what they do all day.
Yeah, so here's a reality check for Matt Walsh. Elon Musk is not the boss of federal employees. Doge is not the boss of federal employees. OPM is not the boss of federal employees. Federal employees' supervisors are the boss of federal employees. Okay? The agency secretaries. Trump is, to a certain extent, the boss of federal employees, but not Elon Musk. And so courts have already ruled on that OPM does not have authority to direct employees to do anything. Now, agencies can direct employees to do things, and agencies can direct people to do something like this. But again, on the merits of it, it's not a smart idea. It doesn't make any sense. It's going to waste money, waste time, et cetera, and potentially be used to politically target people, potentially be used to personally enrich Elon Musk. Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate. Here, Matt Walsh reacts to a federal worker that was on CNN last week talking about the email.
First, just tell us about this email and what it was like receiving it and what you all have talked about after getting it.
Sure. I got this email Saturday afternoon, about 3 p.m., and I felt absolutely infuriated getting this email with a demand within 48 hours to provide a response on what I did within the last week or face termination. This is clearly an attempt from Elon Musk to harass and bully and intimidate the federal workforce, which is part of his broader plan to gut the federal workforce and privatize public sector services to ensure that corporations like his own can get more profit. And that makes me really angry, and my coworkers as well.
These spoiled brats. I mean, it's amazing. They just can't help themselves. Yeah, the plan is to gut the federal workforce. And you are why, lady. You're the reason why we want to gut the federal workforce, is exactly because of you and people like you. Infuriated that she's being asked to simply, what did you do last week? With the taxpayer money, we are paying you. It's our money out of our pockets to do a job. What did you do the job? What is the job? What did you do? That's the question.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. It's just so silly. The federal workers, again, they have to report to their supervisors. There are already ways that supervisors measure employee performance. This is superlative and does not add anything to the government, to the efficiency of the government. And the idea that people are being, it's very frustrating to see people being precious with this email. Because if you read the email, and if you know anything about Elon Musk and about his attitude towards federal employees, it is not just a simple performance evaluation, anything like that. It is an attack on federal workers because the underlying sentiment is that federal workers do not work. That is the whole thing. And it is absolutely meant to bully and harass and intimidate people because these emails are not going to be read. Nobody is going to read these freaking emails. And so if nobody's going to read these stupid emails, then you have to ask yourself the question, what is actually the purpose? And that is the purpose: to bully, harass, and intimidate people, and potentially to enrich Elon Musk with the data, and potentially to politically target people with the data that would be searched for, not evaluated as they come in. So it's very frustrating. I mean, and personally, right? Like, I have experience with something like this. I had my supervisor for a time during the pandemic wanted to have basically something like this. We called it a quantifiable output checklist. And so we filled out this form, and it was exactly this. Like, what did we do last week? And my supervisor only had like 40 employees or something. And even like just evaluating 40 different forms from the people that were under him got to be like just too much work. And so like it was like he had other things to do. He had meetings to be in. And so ultimately that practice was discontinued because it was not beneficial, even just within that small kind of department within the government, because my program manager already knows what I'm doing. We have meetings every single week where we go through our projects and we talk about what's going on, and our program manager would be able to tell if nothing is moving. We have deadlines that we either meet or we don't. And so the idea that even just within this small part of the government that we would have this extra quantifiable output checklist was superfluous, and the very definition of again, bullshit paper pushing work that was ultimately discontinued, and the practice was not continued. And so there's some people kind of also in the chat that are, kind of doing that sort of thing, like just pretending, it only takes 2 minutes. Again, if you actually, I don't think the people that are putting it in the chat that, it only takes 2 minutes actually believe that, because if you take it seriously that this is something that could result in your resignation or termination or discipline, most people are going to put more than 2 minutes of thought into something like that. Okay, that is just the truth. That is just the truth. And it warrants more than 2 minutes of thought. If this is something that can be used against me in disciplinary hearings, potentially for my termination, then yes, that deserves more than 2 minutes of thought. And you're being silly. And frankly, honestly, I almost think that you're lying if you actually believe something like that. Saying just list 5 things quickly. It's not that hard. What did you do? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just, it's being silly. It's not being serious. So,
and again, like, this is your supervisor's responsibility to check on what you've done this week. It shouldn't be Elon Musk or, anyone else, right?
Right.
Everyone who works for the federal government has a supervisor already.
Mm-hmm.
It's asinine.
Yeah, it's asinine. It's silly. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.